Carport, and welcome back to another video featuring our 91 BMW 318i body E30. So this is obviously a manual car, and what a fun car that this is. I am recording this video right now probably a week and a half after I started this, because I wanted to show you guys how to change out the thermostat and kind of do a how-to video, but I also wanted to check out my cooling system and all that. So this has been a little bit of a struggle trying to figure out why this car was overheating. We started with the thermostat and also draining out the coolant. You guys will see when I took the original thermostat out how disgusting it was. This is the replacement thermostat. One of the things I wanted to fill you in on before showing the video was I was confused on how this went in, and on the video I said I did some research and couldn't figure it out, so we went and put it back in the way the other one was, which was fine, because this thermostat here doesn't have any directional, it doesn't have a breather, and no arrows telling you which way. So if you get a thermostat that has a breather or arrows, make sure you put it in the proper way and do some research on it. But this one did not, so I wanted to cover that. The second thing is, after putting the coolant back in there, the thermostat back in there, I had issues with overheating. So I pulled the thermostat, checked it, put it back in, refilled it, still overheating. I ended up deciding, after doing a ton of research, I'm gonna run this thing without any thermostat. There's absolutely no reason for me to run it with a thermostat, because this is going to be a hard running drift car. I've been running the piss out of it all day and having a complete blast. So I'm gonna run it without a thermostat. I wanted your guys' opinion on that, what you guys think, if you've done it before, and would you ever do it to your car? Because there are some online things that talk about the negatives and the positives. The positives, it runs super cool, and I'll show you guys that in a second. The negatives are it could wear out internal parts and stuff like that, according to some people online, and others claim they've been doing it for like 5-10 years and had no issues. So that's one of the things I wanted to get you guys' feedback on. What I'm going to show you guys now is after I ran this car with cleaner, dumped it out, put coolant in there, dumped it out. I ended up running it with straight water and just this for 2 days, running it real hard. I'm going to show you guys now what came out of that after I drained the fluid. So, as you guys saw there, it was absolutely disgusting. After doing that, I ended up adding coolant, and I had overheating again, and I could not figure out why. Finally, I figured out that for some reason, maybe because there's no evaporator core, no heater on this car, I wasn't getting enough flow to actually pressurize the system and get the air out of there. Like the water or the coolant wasn't flowing through. So I ended up having to use a hose and spray it down into the cap of the radiator with the car off and cool, until it flowed all the way through the whole system. Once I did that, capped it off and run it, and that's what I did now, and I just ran the piss out of this car down the street. You're gonna see, it will keep itself really low. You can see there. And when I rev the engine up on this thing, it'll actually start to go down. So if I let it sit here and idle, it will go to the middle, right around the middle, but it doesn't go any higher than that, which is absolutely amazing. So let me know what you guys think, if you've had this issue before, or if you've heard of it. What I should do, because I'm probably gonna drain out all this water and try to figure out how to get some coolant in here. But I wanted to show you guys that before starting this video. Now I'm gonna go to the video part where you're gonna see me change out the thermostat. So stay tuned, guys. Okay guys, so a couple fill-ins here. Obviously your thermostat is going to be located in this housing right here. You've got your radiator hose on both sides. I pulled this one off here, and ironically they had an 8mm on this one facing up, easy to access, but you can see it's very rusty. And I'm thinking, you can smell the coolant, so it's not just straight water that's been sitting in here, because sometimes that'll happen. And I don't think it's like the sealant. It's not like that nasty, mucky brown water. It's more of that green coolant maybe just sat for a long time and got a little rusty. So I want to flush all this out, because that could obviously be causing an issue as well. And you've got 4 bolts on this housing, 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. So I'm pulling these hoses off for better access. You can always spin this fan to get to them, but what's really annoying is they put a 6mm one on this and they faced it down, so I could barely get to it. So I'm just got that one off now, so I'm going to pull this hose off. I've got a drain pan down below to catch all the coolant, but we're going to go ahead and flush this out anyways, and then we'll probably fill it with some new coolant. So I'll fill you guys in on that. I'm going to get this housing off and show you guys how the thermostat goes back in and everything. So guys, as you can see, I got this off and it is super rusty down in there. The thermostat, it looks like it's orange. Now, I just realized I had gotten this thermostat probably 2 months ago, and I completely forgot to get the gasket for that, and then there's a gasket for your thermostat as well. Luckily, AutoZone has it in stock. Now with the whole COVID-19 thing, I might just have it shipped because they're offering free next day shipping, and I can just leave the car here like this. So you guys will see this all on the same day, but I'm probably gonna have to order that. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and flush out this disgusting coolant, clean out the thermostat housing, pull out my thermostat. Now, from what I read online, you wanna make sure you note the direction of the thermostat and how it's sitting in there, so you can put it back in exactly like that. Now, of course, if somebody put one in wrong, then you'd have to check that too. So I'm gonna basically notate mine now, look down in there, see how it looks, and then I'm gonna do some research, make sure that I'm putting mine in properly so I can transfer that on to you guys. So stay tuned. I'm gonna go ahead and flush this all out, and then you guys will see me put everything back in. Was not that difficult. 4 bolts. Ironically, this has been changed before because a couple of the bolts were a different size bolt, but in case you need to kind of see without your eyes because you can't see underneath, that's kind of how it looks there. So you've got 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. There are other bolts surrounding it. Just be careful not to take those off because I accidentally unscrewed one and need to screw it back in. So that's it, guys. Let's go ahead and get this thing flushed out, and then we'll get that thermostat put in and we'll start her back up. So guys, the goal was to drain out the radiator in the meantime of waiting to get the gaskets, and for some reason when I unscrewed that bottom plug that you guys saw, that blue one, typically, I mean, I could be wrong, I am not 100% familiar with BMWs. This is kind of the first one I've really worked on besides my wife's, which is way more modern. So this is the first E30. Typically though, that's gonna drain out. So what I did was I undid the hose right here that goes to the engine block, and if I take a water hose and spray down in there, you're gonna see this nasty gunk that's coming out. So I'm wondering if there's just a buildup, if somebody did, I unfortunately put one of those stop leaks in here and it clogged up maybe that drain plug. So I'm gonna play around with it, see if I can get this thing flowing so we can get it cleaned out. And then we're gonna run a radiator flush once we get thermostat put back in, and then flush it out again and then re-put some good fluid in there. So hopefully we can get this all done pretty quickly, and I'll fill you guys in as I go. So guys, it just seems like it might have been caked up. So you see the pipe coming out the side, that's where it's gonna drain out. So when you undo that screw, it comes out of there. So I took the hose and put it right into that little pipe and just sprayed, and it released a whole bunch of that gunk, and you can see now we're getting water flowing out of there as well as the, so we're gonna be able to kind of flush this. What I'm gonna do is just keep running some hose water through it for now, just to flush out any of the gunk buildup. At least that'll free up any buildup we might have within this radiator, and then we can run, I'm gonna put this in here, or maybe I'll go pick up a different one, but I've got this sitting around, the Prestone Super Flush. You basically, from what I remember, run this with distilled water, and then you flush it out, and then you flush it out again, and then you add your fresh coolant in. So good news is I got everything flowing now. Gonna go get those gaskets, get them put back on. I'll fill you guys in on that procedure, and then we'll move on to just filling this thing back up. So guys, just a quick fill-in while I'm waiting for the shipment on those gaskets. But like I said, you're going to see it on this episode anyways. I went ahead and flushed out the whole radiator by hooking a hose up to this side that went into where our thermostat was, our thermostat housing, and just ran it with the pressurized water, and it flushed out the other end of this hose, and I could not believe how much gunk came out. So that should really, really help us out when we're going to add that Prestone flush system out. So let's go ahead and step over here. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention too is my heater core, from what I know, is completely disconnected and rerouted, so there's no heater core, so I don't have to worry about flushing that out as well. Now, stepping over here, this is what I've got for coolant, the same coolant that goes in my wife's BMW. I really, really like this Peak stuff. This is basically, now they color code all of their stuff to match what the manufacturer does, and they claim it's a full manufacturer imitation. So I'm going to go with this, and you can see here BMW All. So I use this on my wife's 2011, and we're going to be using it in this, and I think it said 6.5 liters. so these 2 gallons should be fine. This is that Prestone flush. Tons of flushes out there. We don't have the benefit of having any distilled water right now because I'm not going to go to the store. So we're just going to use hose water since it's going to be flushed out anyways. And these are already 50-50, so we don't have to worry about that. This is the thermostat I picked up. I picked this up months ago, like I said. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the code on that. It does look a little bit different than the one I pulled out just on the top here, but the size and everything looks the same. Also, I could not find anything online that specified which way that went in, so we're just going to put it back in the way it was, which is basically like that if this was the engine. Another quick fill-in, they sell... I found a video where a guy just replaced the entire housing, and I guess that's a very common thing. They sell the housing with the gasket and the thermostat already in it, and it's not super expensive from what he was saying. Unfortunately, we already got all the parts, and my gasket comes off pretty easily. We're going to scrape it with a razor blade, and I'm going to basically degrease all this, and in the meantime, I'm going to degrease the engine. I'm not going to show you guys all that, and then I'm going to work on getting a lot of that plastic stuff off the bumper, and the reason why I want to be able to hook those blinkers back up to that front piece I was showing you guys earlier. So stay tuned. I'm going to kind of rush through all this. I'll film some of it, but you guys are going to see when the gaskets come in and me reinstalling that very quickly. Well, guys, the gaskets came in. The housing gasket was the exact one. Unfortunately, the O-ring gasket was the wrong one, but what I ended up doing was taking the one off the old one. Don't recommend doing this unless you're in a crunch like I was. Tomorrow being Easter, I wanted to get this all put back together, and I don't have time to wait for another one. The one that was on there was in excellent condition, so I went ahead and cleaned it down really well with some soap and water, and then just put a little bit of the red gasket maker down first and put that on top of there. With this gasket here, you want to make sure you don't use any of the gasket sealant on this side. It's not necessary, but you can on the back side to keep this in place, because otherwise it's just going to fall off while trying to put it in the car. So that's what I did. I put a little bit of red on that side. And then this is your housing gasket here. So it's MAL. That's the number there. I'll try to leave all that down in the description. I'll even leave the proper one for that hopefully down in the description. I'm going to go ahead and pop this on the car. We'll go ahead and fill our coolant, let it run, make sure we don't have any leaks, and see if it holds temperature. So stay tuned. Okay guys, looks like it's a success, but I've got to fill you in. So first thing is, since I don't have a heater core, I use a ton less coolant, probably right around 90% of one of those gallons. Second thing is, I actually did a read-up on a forum. This guy broke down everything, and one of the things he mentioned was it's impossible to get in there really to torque those bolts, but you got to tighten them up. You don't want to over-tighten them, and he had an issue where he had a small leak from there. Same exact thing happened to me. I went back. It felt like they loosened up a little bit. I re-tightened them up, started the car back up, no issues at all. We're holding good temperature. Hopefully we don't have any issues. I'll fill you guys in the future if anything else comes up. But once again, my name's Pete. This is Pete's Carport. Oh guys, check this out. So I've been kind of doing 2 videos at once. I don't know which one's gonna come out first, but check out that whole front bumper that I just redid. All right guys, you have an awesome day, a blessed week, and I'll catch you.